All right, let's just talk about the election. I have no idea where I'm gonna upload this, or even if I will, or whatever the fuck. So a lot of thoughts from yesterday. Going into it, I would say maybe about a year ago, probably a year and a half ago at this point, when Biden was still running, I was very pessimistic, and I had a very hard feeling that Trump was gonna run again, because I think this was before he even announced, and that Trump was gonna win. Because who else is gonna fucking beat Trump in the Trumpian party? And I was very pessimistic. I was like, if Biden stays in the race, this is when he was super unpopular. The war in Gaza had just started, and everyone was pushing him to say something, do something about Gaza, and he still hasn't done anything, which is on brand for him. But when Kamala joined the race, I had a very real sense of hope that she would at least she was going to run a campaign that was going to be different than Biden's, because all of Biden's policies, with the exception of his stance on labor, it was just unpopular. He's been a very unpopular president. One of the most unpopular presidents that I can remember. His immigration policy has been dog water. He hasn't been able to do anything to really slow inflation. He hasn't done anything about the crisis in Gaza or the West Bank. He's done nothing. I mean, he's kept up the funding in Ukraine, which is fine. Ukrainians were being attacked, and we're funding the defense. Just like how, Israel was attacked, and now we're just funding the attackers at this point. It's just absolutely crazy how unpopular Biden has been. And, when Harris was first announced, I was like, okay, maybe she'll, separate herself a little bit. Because I know when she ran in 2020, she had a platform of, we need Medicare for all, and a few of these other things that were kind of mirroring Biden. That's the one I remember most, is that she was one of the few on the stage who were Medicare for all. I think Biden was it was Biden. I don't think Bloomberg ran, but there was a few who weren't pushing for Medicare for all. But Kamala was one of them. And I was like, okay, well, if Kamala runs and she pushes for Medicare for all, which is a highly popular policy position, I was like, maybe she can get some momentum here and really carry her over the top. And I was like, this could work. And then when it was coming down to who she was going to pick for VP, because this was literally right before the DNC, when it was coming down for who she was going to pick for her VP pick, there was Andy Beshear, Tim Walz, and Josh Shapiro from Kentucky, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania. And I was scared to fucking death that she was going to pick Josh Shapiro, because if she would have picked Josh Shapiro, it would have showed that she was going to try to stay in the middle and try to recruit Republicans and Democrats onto the same ticket to push the country forward. When in reality, Republicans, the GOP, the entire fucking party, is fully behind Trump and all of his fucking fascist nonsense. So the halfway point between fascist nonsense and the Democrats, who are the do-nothing Democrats because they've been in power for 2 fucking years. I don't think they didn't have a majority in the House, but they didn't do anything. They're the do-nothing Democrats and the fucking fascist-ass Republicans. The middle of that is bullshit. Nobody wants that. And we know nobody wants that, because now, after the election, we're seeing all of these states. I think there was 8 states, maybe 9 states, that had abortion rights on their ballots. And all but 3. It was South Dakota, which had a 37% favorability. I want to say, I can't remember the other one, but I know Florida voted 57% yes for abortion rights, but they needed 60. So that didn't pass either. But abortion rights were outpacing Kamala in these states by 10 percentage points. The policies, the progressive policies that, in my opinion, she should have been running on since day fucking one, were outpacing her by 10 points. These progressive policies are insanely popular. And the fact that she didn't double down on any of that and pick Tim Walz, who is kind of a leftist candidate, and when you look at the vast, array of the Democratic politicians, Tim Walz is definitely more progressive than Joe fucking Biden and Nancy fucking Pelosi on all those fucking hogs. But, like, Tim Walz is at least, like, moderately progressive. I was like, hell yeah, he pushed for free public school lunches, which was massively popular. The dude's a fucking former teacher. And it's just like, yeah, like, he is very popular. And he's actually kind of, like, shows that maybe if Kamala were to kind of pivot to more left-wing issues, she's got a lot of momentum. And I remember there was a fuck ton of momentum. After she picked Walz, holy hell, dude. Me personally, I was so fired up, and I was so ready. And then they pivoted to the center. I can't even count how many fucking former Republicans and Republicans they had on that fucking stage in the DNC. That was so fucking stupid. Because you picked Tim Walz. You showed the base that, hey, we're trying to expand our voting base. We're not trying to, pull Republicans off. Because there are so many fucking people. I have so many buddies that just didn't vote. Because they don't see politics as something that benefits them. And I have a hard time arguing against that. Because from where I'm standing, neither party is good. Both parties are shit. And now my fucking camera is out of focus because I'm getting fucking furious right now. Because Kamala's campaign wasn't, like, bad. Come on, focus. If Kamala were to run the campaign that I bet she wanted to run, she probably would have done very well. But because she's the vice president, and most of her policies kind of have to mirror Joe Biden because of the way that the position that she was in, she couldn't, like, push against Biden much at all, especially with the war in the Middle East, the Gaza genocide, and then the war in Ukraine. She can't really push against him with that, because that shows that, there's uncertainty in the Democratic Party. But in my opinion, if you're going to be in the fucking middle and copy Joe Biden's policies, you should just pick fucking Josh Shapiro and just show the base, hey, we just want to be in the middle and we're going to recruit Republicans because Josh Shapiro is a fucking centrist to right-wing Democrat. That's what he is. And if they would have picked Josh Shapiro, they probably would have won Pennsylvania, which means they might have won Michigan and Wisconsin and probably Minnesota because Tim Walz would have backed Kamala anyway. They might have won the blue wall, which means they might have won the election. But because they picked Tim Walz and did this little fake of like, hey, we're going to be leftist, and then pivoted back to the center, everyone who loved Tim Walz and was fired up about Tim Walz being the VP was like, fuck you, Democrats. We're not voting for you anymore because you fucking dangled this shit in front of us of like, hey, we're going to be progressive and we know what we're doing and we know how to fight these right-wing fascists. And then you pivot to the center. That's just a big fuck you to everyone. Anyone who was to the left of Democrats and was fired up about voting for them, it's just like a big fuck you to Muslims, a big fuck you to Hispanic people, to black people, to all of these people that were on fire to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz on a leftist campaign. It's just like, it's just more business as usual, and business as usual has been absolutely fucking dog shit for the vast majority of Americans. Because when you if you offer people policies and things that are ways that it's going to be different and going to be better, then people vote for you. That's why people voted for Obama, because he said, "I want to do this, 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 and this to help out the lower middle classes." He didn't talk shit about McCain at all. Granted, McCain didn't talk shit about him either, but it was literally, here's what I'm going to do for you style of campaign. And Obama killed it. Absolutely killed it. I'm pretty sure he won Iowa. He won Indiana. I think he nearly won Florida. I think he pulled Ohio, if I'm remembering correctly. He pulled all of these states that are now just Republican because he showed people, here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I want to do and want to accomplish when I am president. Kamala didn't do any of that. She said she was going to codify Roe v. Wade, and then she said something about giving tax breaks to small businesses, which no one gives a fuck about. No one fucking cares. Because what people really want is, say you're going to raise the minimum wage. Even if you can't fucking do it, say you're going to fucking do it. Say you're going to do it. Because you need a lot of fucking moving parts to actually work together to get minimum wage to increase. And then she had that tax break or whatever the fuck, that like $50,000 worth of cash for people to buy their first home. I don't even think it was that high. I think it was like $20,000. And I'm like, who the fuck's that going to help? Because I'm still not getting paid enough to make the fucking mortgage payment after I buy the house. So it's like, I'm still in the same fucking problem. That policy, no one gave a fuck about either. Because a lot of states and a lot of communities still have like, this is your first house. We're still going to give you a lot more charitability. And then she said she was going to combat price gouging. Massively popular. But she didn't really say how she was going to do it. It's just like whatever kind of thing. She said she was going to do it. She didn't really offer a reason how she was going to do it. But it was still a very popular policy. And everyone I've talked to, those two policies they love. Abortion was number one. Abortion by far was like the number one issue. And then price gouging, fixing price gouging was the number two issue. But everything else, she was fucking awful at. Everything else. I'm not blaming her specifically. When I say her, I mean her campaign and the Democratic Party as a whole. And yes, I am very much victim blaming because the Democratic Party has done this time and time and time and time again, where their messaging is so fucking bad, even though their politics are really good compared to the Republicans, which is, they really fucking hopped over that bar, whatever. But the Democratic policies are usually pretty good when we're talking about American politics. But their politics, Democratic politics, are dog shit. Some of the worst I've ever fucking seen, the worst I've ever fucking heard. It is atrocious. They are atrociously bad at running campaigns, which is why Jill Stein pulled like 500,000 votes from Dearborn, Michigan, or some bullshit like that. When you have communities that are desperate to get any sort of politician to listen to them, to acknowledge them, and they don't even vote for you because you aren't doing anything to help them out, there's a lot of people who are like me, who are empathetic to those who, don't have, the right skin tone or the right gender or the right sexuality to get that upper step in life. There's a lot of people like me who are empathetic to those who are different, who look different, who just are different, and that get beaten down by Republicans, by the right-wing morons. And we get upset, and we get, quite frankly, pissed when the Democratic politician running for president doesn't say shit about the genocide in Gaza, except for Israel has the right to defend itself and that we need to stop the killing. I was like, how are you going to stop the killing? Just say you're going to stop the weapons sales to Israel. Because now that Trump is president, he's going to let Netanyahu annex the West Bank. He's going to let Netanyahu have free reign to bomb the absolute shit out of Gaza more than it has already done. He's going to let them annex Lebanon and we might possibly go to world war because Trump's just going to let Netanyahu do whatever the fuck he wants in the Middle East, which is going to prompt an attack from Iran, which might prompt an attack from Afghanistan, which might prompt an attack from Yemen, and Egypt, and Syria. You got all these regional players, and it's just the United States and Trump is just going to let it happen. He's going to keep giving Netanyahu these weapons, and it's just going to end bad. It's just the Middle East is going to end terribly. And the fact that Kamala Harris didn't say anything about a permanent ceasefire. She didn't even say two-state solution, which at this point is fucking impossible. Because so much of the West Bank has been settled, the only way to get Israelis out of the West Bank is by force, which is going to cause more disruption, more death, more carnage, which at this point we need a one-state solution where Palestinians and Israelis have equal rights completely in Palestine. I'm not calling it Israel. I'm calling it Palestine. Whatever the fuck they want to call that country, the Palestinians and Israelis need to work together with full voting rights and full legal rights for both groups. That's the only way forward. Because right now, we're going one-state solution route, but from the extermination of the Palestinian people. We're going to look at this 30, 40, 50 years down the road, and we're going to see it just like we see the Armenian genocide, just like we see the Nazi genocides against the Jews, against the Poles, against the Russians, against the Gypsies, against any of the LGBTQ movement, against anyone who is disabled. It's going to be viewed like that. If the world survives. At this point, I don't know if the world is even going to survive. Like, I am that pessimistic about the future of the human race and life on this planet. Because now that Trump is going to be the fucking president, he's going to let Netanyahu do whatever the fuck he wants. He's going to let Vladimir Putin march straight through fucking Ukraine. He's going to let that happen. I guarantee he's going to try to stop our sales of weapons to the Ukrainians. He's going to push for more weapons to go to Israel. If anything, he might even do I hope he doesn't do like blockades and shit. But I am so pessimistic about the future of this planet now. Because Democrats wanted to fucking get the first female black president. They wanted that more than anything. So they just sacrificed the future of the human fucking race on their bullshit identity politics. Because they didn't want her to be too radical. They didn't want to be like, all right, she can't be too radical. She can't push for human rights because that's too far. She can't push for Medicare for all because that's too far. She can't push for a ceasefire in Israel because that's too far. She can't push for workers' rights, which Biden has been so good on. It's like, all you got to do is double down on that. Just be like, hey, we need more union membership. Hey, we should increase the minimum wage. Hey, it's like, it's so easy. Biden already laid the plan out. He was the first fucking president to go to a fucking a UAW a picket line. Biden was the first president to do that. All you had to do was just follow in his fucking footsteps. And I don't understand. I don't understand how the Democrats fucked it up so bad. Because how bad Kamala Harris's campaign was, the Republican campaign was so fucking much worse. It was so much worse. I'm not even saying that as someone who, just hates the Republicans, because I fucking hate the Republicans, but I also hate the Democrats because they're fucking incompetent. But I hate the Republicans because they literally copied and pasted Nazi rhetoric in almost all of Trump's campaign rallies. And what really kills me is that you have motherfuckers in like the Madison Square Garden rally literally saying Nazi shit. America is for Americans only. That's straight from Germany. That is straight from 1930s Germany. That is straight Hitlerian. Immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country. That is straight Hitlerian. And like, Hitler was someone that I thought we all agreed was like a bad guy. I thought we all agreed to that. But 70 million Americans saw this rhetoric and saw Trump doing this, literally saying the same fucking things and wanting to do the same things during his first term. He wanted to do that shit. And he had people in his inner circle tell him, no, you can't do that. But now he has the Supreme Court on his side. And he's going to have the Senate on his side. And the House is going to be very close. I haven't looked at it today. But it looks like it's going to favor the Dems. But if the fucking House of Representatives is our last bastion of fucking defense against right-wing, just absolute American Nazism, I don't have a lot of hope for this country. I fucking don't. And I've come with up to two conclusions about Trump and all of this Hitler shit. Either he knows that what he is saying is echoing Hitler, and he wants that power, and he wants to be in control, and he wants to make this country look like me, white, male, cis, straight. He wants that. He wants that for the country. Either it's that, and he wants to kick out immigrants, and he thinks that's gonna be good for him and his friends, and he wants to cut taxes for the ultra wealthy who already have more money than fucking God. And he wants to place tariffs on these countries, like China and Taiwan, because then his friends are going to be able to charge more for their shit that they're importing, and the American consumers just going to have to fucking buy it because we're not going to have a fucking choice. Either that's happening, or he is so fucking stupid that he is literally saying the same shit as Hitler because someone else told him to say it, and he's saying that same shit, and he just doesn't know what's going on. Either he is fucking so goddamn dumb and incompetent that he is letting himself be manipulated to sound just like Hitler and to be America's Hitler, as J.D. Vance correctly pointed out 4 fucking years ago. Or, I think it was longer than that. I think it was 8 years ago when he was first running. Anyway, either he is that fucking stupid to let himself be manipulated to be America's Hitler, or he wants to be America's Hitler and is doubling down on that shit. And both possibilities are fucking awful. They're both bad. They're both bad, and both can be happening at the same time. Maybe he is incompetent, and maybe he is kind of being led down this right-wing pipeline. But maybe he wants that as well. You know, I kind of came up with the idea of conservatives and the Republicans just want a right-wing theocracy, monarchical type of government in the United States. And that's what we got. We got that now. 70 million Americans saw that and said, yeah, I want that. Which brings me to my last point, because I've been fucking ranting and raving for 20 fucking minutes. I saw a statistic a few weeks ago. Maybe it was less than a week. Maybe it was less than that. But it doesn't matter. That it was like 45% of American adults, or just all Americans, I think it was all Americans, have a reading level around 5th, 6th grade. And if you've ever met a 4th grader, 5th grader, 6th grader, even 7th grader, they think they know it all. They are, that level of development, like going into middle school, you are just independent enough to kind of be able to like get facts on your own, but you don't have the cognitive ability to have critical thinking skills and put together multiple sources and put together a cohesive argument that is well thought out, well resourced. Because I didn't learn how to do that until I was like a junior or senior in high school. But every single, 11, 12, 13-year-old that I know at least, and I work with a lot of them, they think they know everything. They think they know what's what and what's going on in the world. But it's not until they get older. I work with some high school kids too, and they're a lot more well-rounded. They a lot more well-researched. Because as you get older, your ability to be able to read a source and be able to be like, this part doesn't sound right. The part about Haitians eating animals sounds a little crazy. So I'm gonna look into this a little more. It's like, oh, there was a massive wave of Haitian immigrants that came to this community, and they're kind of trying to deal with it a little bit, and they're struggling a little bit, yeah, obviously, because whenever you have a massive flux of immigrants into any, small town, it's going to change a lot of how the town looks. But is that a bad thing? Some people could say it's a bad thing, but these immigrants are definitely not eating the dogs and cats. That's kind of like the generic way of like taking multiple sources and like being able to make your own opinion on them. But if a little less than half of Americans don't have that style of reading level, past 5th, 6th grade. 70 million people voting for Trump makes sense to me. That makes perfect sense to me. Because if you take out everyone who's like obviously under the age of 18 or who tried to vote absentee, maybe there was like a mistake, so you take out maybe 50 million Americans, maybe a little more. That number of people pretty much reflects the 40-ish% of people who make up this country who voted for Trump. And that makes fucking so much more sense to me now of why people just flock to Trump all the time. For the last 10 fucking years. People who say he's not a politician, the motherfucker has been running for president for 10 fucking years. He was president for 4 of them already, and is going to be president for 4 more. So if anyone says he's not a politician, they're just fucking lying. Because he's been a politician for 10 years. He's been wanting to be a politician for a long time. I would say he's been wanting to be a politician ever since the Central Park 5. When he called for the execution of 5 innocent boys who were accused of raping a little white girl. I think that was when he was first like, maybe I should be president. Or maybe I should be mayor or whatever the fuck. But Trump is a deeply immoral individual who literally only cares about himself. His stance on the economy is not going to help anybody except for him and anyone in his tiny little fucking circle. The tariffs, the consumer's going to pay. We're going to pay it. If I'm importing t-shirts from China for $20 and I'm paying $20 normally when I pull them in and I'm selling them for $25, get a little profit on the top. If there's a $5 tariff, I'm still not going to charge $25 for the same shirt. I'll have to charge $30. So now my shirts that were $25 are not going to be $30. And I saw that some products he wants to have a 40% tariff on, which is fucking stupid because we're going to pay that. Our taxes, yeah, sure, our taxes might go down, but Elon Musk is probably never going to have to pay taxes again for the rest of his fucking life if the Republicans stay in charge. Bill Gates will never have to fucking pay taxes for the rest of his goddamn life if the Republicans stay in charge. And they keep following this Trumpian, Hitlerian policies. But yeah, like, I might save $10-15 a year on taxes. But now my clothes are almost twice as expensive. My food is still going up in price. And he said he was going to fix it. And it's not fixed. It's absolutely insane. And his stance on abortion in Project 2025 is going to lead to the death and misery of so many women in this country. It's to the point where I'm thinking about getting the fuck out of here. Because if 70 million Americans, if almost a third of this country looks at our presidential candidates and sees one that's just like a business as usual Democrat, yeah, she has some policies that are good, I guess. Price gouging, abortion is fine. But then you're going to look at the other guy who's literally quoting Hitler and having fucking Nazi rallies at Madison Square Garden where there's dudes literally saying Puerto Rico is a floating island of garbage and saying that, hey, I was just in Israel and I'm going to go to this Nazi rally when he literally has people in that rally saying that shit. It's like you're voting between a generic Democrat and Hitler. And more than 70 million Americans chose Hitler. And only like 65 million chose the generic Democrat. It just shows like this country, I don't know if there is a God, but if there is a God, this must be his way of like testing us. And we fucking failed. We have failed miserably. And I am terrified of what the future is going to bring to this country. You know, when Trump won in 2016, I had genuine thoughts of trying to get the fuck out. But if Trump is able to enact Project 2025, there are going to be a lot of people like me, a lot of people in, on the west coast of California, a lot of people in Dearborn, Michigan, a lot of people in fucking Nashville, Tennessee, who aren't citizens, maybe, or who do vote Democrat are a little more vocally leftist, that he's going to label the enemy of this country. And he's going to either force them out back to wherever they came from, or he's going to imprison them and us. And both outcomes are completely... It'll be the downfall of this country. When you start deporting immigrants who are working, who are paying taxes, who are raising families, starting families, buying homes, and they can't even fucking vote. And they can't even get Medicare, Medicaid. And if they piss off their employer will be like, all right, I'm calling ICE on you because you want to get paid a little more to help pay for your fucking childcare. Nah, none of that around here. You're fucking deported. When you have immigrants already living here, doing work that Americans don't want to do, obviously. I don't know of anyone who would want to go out to the field and work that shit. I know a lot of people in high school worked in cornfields, tearing off corn tassels and all that shit, and it was awful. Everything I heard about it was awful. It's hot, miserable, sucks. And there is no American workforce that is going to replenish the immigrants, the quote-unquote illegal immigrants that are working in our farm system now. There's no amount of people that are going to be able to do that. And I think that our food industry is going to fucking fall apart. I think my prediction for the next 4 years, it literally just depends on whether or not Project 2025 is enacted. If Project 2025 is enacted, we will get a national abortion ban. Period. We're going to get a national abortion ban. We are going to get the Department of Education completely destroyed. Probably just forever. I don't think we'll ever get the Department of Education back. Healthcare is going to get much worse because they're going to cut Medicare and Medicaid. They're going to cut Social Security. They're going to cut it because they're going to raise the retirement age. And anytime you raise the retirement age, that's a cut to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. That's a cut when you raise the retirement age because you're limiting more people who can be in it. I think they want to raise it to like 67 was the last number that I saw. And that is fucking outrageous. That is fucking crazy. Anyone who comes out as LGBTQ is going to be in danger. Anyone who is an illegal immigrant and even speaks out and pushes against the status quo at all is going to be forcefully deported or imprisoned. Period. The prison industrial complex, which is all run by fucking private corporations at this point, and private prisons, is going to have a massive boom in population, which means a lot more of our stuff is going to be made with prison labor, which is slave labor. There are going to be... Trump has also said that he wants to give cops full immunity. Full immunity. He's literally going to make the SS. There will be multiple Kristallnachts in the United States. Any business that pushes against Trump and the Republicans are going to have their windows broken. They're going to have their shit kicked in. And when they call, say, hey, we've been robbed, the cop's going to show them and say, it's too bad. You don't support the God King. It's crazy. I've been playing a lot of 40 Hammer lately. And if you know anything about 40 Hammer, or Warhammer 40K, if you know anything about that, it is you're playing as the bad guy. Everyone in that universe is the bad guy, essentially. If you follow the Imperium of Man, you are following the God Emperor who, eats 1,000 souls a day just to stay alive, and all this other stuff about like how you're, murdering and pillaging your way across the galaxy to colonize planets, and then you're just killing a bunch of the people who live there to colonize it for your own. But then it's just everyone in the Warhammer 40K universe is a fascist, a theocratic fascist. I didn't think that would be this country. You know, I love Warhammer 40k, but it needs to stay in Warhammer 40k. You know, I don't need fascism to be in real life. I don't know how the hell we got to this point. Actually, I do, but it's just absolutely crazy. And it shows that, for me, this election really, really shows that this country is, it might not be fully racist against immigrants and against black people and against Hispanics and against Arab people and against Asians, but it is totally willing to vote for a guy who is. To vote for a guy who is openly supported by the Klan and is openly supported by the Proud Boys and is openly supported by all of these other right-wing neo-Nazi groups that love Trump, that absolutely love Trump. You know, I think of, this will be my last point before I stop because my voice is starting to go, obviously, because it's probably been going for the last 10 minutes, but I used to work at T.C. Harris, that residential school, and I loved it. It was awesome. But I had a few coworkers there who were very Trumpian, and it always confused the fuck out of me. Because you have kids who are there who were forced out of their house by DCS, by saying you cannot live here anymore because it's an active danger to you. Or DOE, because the homeschool for these kids did not have the capability of serving them. So you had a lot of these kids who were disenfranchised by, you know, multiple government agencies, or disenfranchised by their parents and forced out. Some of their stories were absolutely horrific. How in the hell are you going to support Trump and work with these kids? That always blew me away. And a lot of the teachers there also had they had to have higher degrees, because you can get a degree from T.C. Harris, like an actual high school diploma at T.C. Harris. And I genuinely don't understand how someone can work for any sort of educational system and support Trump, especially when they study history. That blows my mind. I'm like, did you just read this shit and then just ignore it and just forget it? Do you not recognize that what Trump is saying is literally early 1930s Germany? Granted, Trump didn't have a grassroots movement. He just joined the Republican Party. Hitler had to start a grassroots movement because of the way that the parliamentary system in Germany works. And he had to grow his base. So at least Nazis were ground rooted. Republicans are just there. It's either Democrats or Republicans. And unfortunately in this country you get two choices. And when your choice is a generic fucking Democrat who isn't willing to actually tap into the massive amount of leftism and the massive amount of support for leftist policies, when you have one candidate who isn't willing to touch any of that, and then you have another candidate who is literally Hitler, people are going to be turned off. People are going to be pissed. And when the Democrats lose, like they did, they have no one to blame but themselves. Kamala Harris she could have been a good candidate if you let her do what she did. But I feel like her hands were tied for a whole year. It seems like. She couldn't speak out against Gaza. She can't push against Biden. She can't bring up, hey, we should have a universal health care system. She can't do any of these progressive policies that are massively popular in this country. They're massively popular. Universal health care has like a 65-70% approval rating. Abortion also has like an 80-75% approval rating. Stopping corporate price gouging has like a 65-70% approval rating. Is Trump going to do any of that? Hell fucking no. Hell no. If anything, he's going to double down on all these problems. He's going to make them worse. But when you give us a candidate and just hammer the middle as much as you possibly can to try to bring in Republicans to vote for you, that strategy doesn't fucking work. It didn't work with John Kerry. It didn't work with Hillary Clinton. Why the fuck did you think it was going to work with Kamala Harris? Just because she's black? No, that's not how politics works. People don't give a fuck if she's black or not. There are some people who do. But those motherfuckers are already going to vote for Trump, and you were not going to convince them to join your side. You weren't going to convince them anyway. They were already gone. They were already going to vote the same party as the Klan. They're already going to do that. You're not going to recruit them. The only thing that you do, that playing in the middle, is you're going to push away people who were fired up about Tim Walz. You're just going to push those people away. Because if you're going to be in the center, you should just pick fucking Josh Shapiro. And just show the American left that, hey, we're going to be in the middle, but at least we're going to be consistent. At least we're going to be fucking consistent here. And say, hey, we're going to play it in the middle, and we're just going to try to include as many Republicans as we can, because Josh Shapiro is going to give us Pennsylvania, which will probably give us Michigan, which will probably give us Wisconsin, and most likely give us Minnesota as well. And the Democrats fucked up. And now we're going to have, hopefully, only 4 more years of Donald Trump. Because who fucking knows? You know? If they can fucking win, if they win the House, they already have the vast majority of state legislatures. If they really fucking wanted, they could try to abolish the amendment that has term limits for the president. And just have Trump serve for life. And I'm fucking terrified. Anyway, I'm done. It's been almost 45 fucking minutes. But I'm so fucking pissed at the Democrats, at the Republicans. Man, what cowards the Republicans are. Anyway, I'm done. I'm going to go rest my voice and take a fucking nap.